No, fuck, it's horse beef. What's going on, guys? Talking about UFC 314 today, the highly anticipated card. One of the best cards that's been announced in quite some time, and it's very, very intriguing. But of course, the main event's on my mind more than any other fight on this card. We got Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. This fight intrigues me, it excites me as much as it worries me. And I'm not the biggest Volkanovski fan in the world, not because I have anything against him. It's just that I've never gravitated towards him as much as like a Lucas Tracy, for example, to where I can call myself a big fan of the guy, but I appreciate him and I can recognize the fact that he's one of the most skilled fighters that we've ever had on the roster. But Volkanovski is coming off of two very, very bad knockout losses against Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. So, I don't know, man. For me, the stars are kind of aligning for Diego Lopez to go out here and get that knockout win. And that's the only way I can see Diego Lopez winning that here. I don't think that he's going to submit Volkanovski. Maybe if he hurts him real bad to the point where Volkanovski doesn't really have a lot on the ground, where he's kind of out of it and he just doesn't have the wherewithal to fight off the submissions. But I think as long as Volkanovski has his wits about him, he will be able to fight off the submissions of Diego Lopez. And Volkanovski may even be a better offensive grappler than Diego Lopez himself. I think the wrestling of Volkanovski, his ability to mix it up is very high level. I know he gets a lot of credit for his striking, but he's a fantastic wrestler in his own right. Just look at the way he mixed it up against Yair Rodriguez. The thing of beauty, that whole finishing sequence, the way he mixed up the martial arts like that. The man is a fucking technician, and he's one of the best, like I said. And I do think that, like I said, if Diego Lopez is going to win this fight, it will be a knockout in the first two rounds. But at the same time, Diego Lopez has never been in there with anyone comparable to Volkanovski, right? Volkanovski is similar to a fighter that I am also a fan of, in Merab Dvalishvili, where that space in between, right? Whenever there's any space between Volkanovski and his opponent, he is always filling that space with something, whether that be a feint, a hip feint, a shoulder feint, a switch of stances, something to try and overload the data of his opponents, and it's very effective. And it was very effective for his whole entire career. It was pretty effective against Ilia Topuria in the first round as well. Ilia wasn't able to land a whole lot of his big shots that he was swinging. It's because Volkanovski was making a miss, and he's very good at that. He's very good at that. But it's when Volkanovski does things like this, right? When he blitzes in, he gets a little bit froggy. These are the types of situations that Volkanovski has to avoid, or else those big, meaty hooks, as Lucas Tracy would say, are going to cause real danger for Volk, because it presumably will only take one with Diego Lopez. He has serious power in those hands. He has a lot of snap as well, a lot of rotation. It's not like he has bad technique either, man. He's quite a technical striker, but it's only when he's throwing those hooks, and that's really all he has in his striking game. It's slip off the center line, big overhand, left hook behind it, or in the pocket, uppercut, left hook behind it. It's very simple, but it's super effective because of that God-given power and just that insane stature of Diego Lopez. The man is built retardedly, is the only way that I can even describe it, for 145. The dude has the ideal build. He's long, he's lanky, but he carries so much muscle, and he's just made strides, man. Every single fight he comes in there looking like a new man. I remember against Dan Ige, I was thinking, even though he won the fight, I was thinking maybe he got exposed a little bit. The gas tank, I get it, he did fade in that one, but I don't know, strange circumstances. So it's hard to say that he has no gas tank whatsoever based on that fight. But also the striking defense, right? He was getting popped by Dan Ige. The striking defense didn't look that great. Head was staying on the center line at all times while throwing. Next thing you know, going up against Brian Ortega, I thought that fight would be a lot closer, right? On the feet as well, I thought it would be a little bit close. Brian Ortega's no slouch on the feet. But the next thing you know, Diego Lopez slipping off the center line, landing big overhands, left hooks behind it, spamming that the entire fight. Now he's showing new wrinkles, fight over fight, and that's why it's very hard to base your predictions off of his previous performance, because he just seems to improve in those specific areas that you can pick out and call holes here and there. He seems to be filling those holes, man. So his team, everyone surrounding him, they understand, right? They're aware of these holes in his game, and they're patching them up. But going up against Volkanovski, that gas tank, if you're not going to finish it in the first couple of rounds, and this becomes a war of attrition, it's going to be real troublesome for someone like Diego Lopez, who throws so much into all of his shots. He has a style that relies on a lot of energy expenditure early, and even though his gas tank isn't as bad as it looked against Dan Ige, Volkanovski is the type of fighter who will make his gas tank look bad. Like I said, if it gets past the second, I see Volkanovski winning this one. I see him winning in almost any way that he wants to. I don't know if he'll submit Diego Lopez. In fact, I don't see him submitting Diego Lopez, but I can see him hurting Lopez on the feet, man. Just picture Lopez against Dan Ige in that third round. If that fight had 2 more rounds, Dan Ige is finishing Diego Lopez there. He is. And like I said, and I know I'm contradicting myself a little bit because I said that we shouldn't take too much from the gas tank there, but at the same time, you just look at the style, you look at the amount of muscle he carries, it makes sense that Diego Lopez would not be able to sustain that pace for multiple rounds. And you can see that even in the fights where he's not exactly fading, he's not exactly gassing out, but against Brian Ortega, he had complete control over that fight. But you could see from round 1 to round 2, very different when it comes to the pop, the power on his shots, and the amount that he's actually able to hurt Brian Ortega. In the third round, it's even more of a difference. The difference is that he had control over that fight. He had control over the pace of that fight, and it's much easier to stay fresh when you have control over the pace of that fight. When you're the one on the front foot, you're the one landing the big shots. You don't have a lot to worry about. It's different. It's tougher there. And Volkanovski, like I said, he'll be filling that space. He'll be feinting in and out, man. Shoulder feints, hip feints, everything. I think he'll be landing the jab inside leg kick that he likes to throw. I think he'll land a lot of those. But I just worry, man, because it'll only take one from Diego Lopez. It'll only take that one. And he loves landing those shots, dude. He hits so fucking hard, man. He slept Brian Ortega, one of the fucking craziest chins of all time, and woke him back up with the following shot. Diego Lopez is serious business. He is no slouch whatsoever, but I think that this may actually just be too big of a step up for him. As long as Volkanovski stays out of the fire, as long as he's calculated in his approach, he doesn't get too froggy, doesn't get too overconfident, starts showboating, starts emoting and all that, as long as he stays away from all that bullshit, right? And he takes Diego Lopez serious as a fucking heart attack, which it seems like he is based on the footage he's been putting out, him in training camp. He's in fantastic shape, and he's been in fantastic shape since like multiple months ago, man. So he seems like he's taking this very seriously, but is all of that for him, or is it for us? You know what I mean? Is that to give himself confidence, or just to show his fans that they should have faith in him for this performance? I guess we'll find that on fight night, right? I believe he can stay safe for the opening 2 rounds, put it on Diego Lopez, and either get a late finish or a decision victory, and that's what I'm going to choose here. I'm going to choose Volkanovski. I'm gonna say decision. I think he'll win a 48-47 decision. I could see happening probably 48-47, maybe even 49-46, maybe even 49-45, maybe like a late 10-8 in there. But this is anything but a lock prediction. I can absolutely see Diego Lopez catching Volkanovski here and making all of us cry, man, because like whether you're a fan of Volkanovski or not, the dude, he's a stand-up individual. He was a fantastic champ. He was an active champion. He deserves all of our respect. And even if he goes out there and gets starched by Diego Lopez, he's still an all-time great. He really is still an all-time great. And maybe it's just a bit of hopium, you could say, right, in picking Volkanovski here, because the logical pick is Diego Lopez. You know, he's the one with momentum, as opposed to Volkanovski, who's the exact opposite, right? He's lost all of his momentum, essentially. And that's why a lot of people are picking Diego Lopez here. Understandably so, because Lopez is no slouch whatsoever. But I think Volkanovski has enough high-level experience to weather the early storm, not by eating the shots, but by avoiding the shots, by overloading the data, by forcing Diego Lopez to swing wildly while Volkanovski's not even in range, and then putting on him late. That's what I see happening. That's my prediction. Sticking to it, man. Volkanovski by decision here. And now I'd like to quickly cover the rest of the card from early prelims all the way up to the co-main. Let's just get into that now, man. Nora Cornole, is that how you say it? I don't know, against Haley Cohen. Listen, I don't care about this fight. I will watch it. Do I care? No, but I'm just going to pick Nora Cornole by decision. Why not? Trishan Gore versus Marco Tulio. This one is actually quite interesting. Now, Trishan Gore, I think his last win beat Tricoli, I think. And if any of you guys watched the Tricoli fight versus Shar Magomedov, then you know that Tricoli is, I don't know, not very good, and he seems to be being used as a punching bag for prospects. So I'm not overly impressed with a win over Tricoli. And Marco Tulio, I don't know. I know there was a bit of controversy with his win over Ihor Potieria, but I don't know. I think he's gonna win this one. I think he might actually finish Trishan Gore. I'm gonna pick Marco Tulio by a second round TKO. Trishan Gore's quite good. He's decent on the feet. He's decent on the ground. He's quite strong as well. Physically very, very strong. but I have a feeling Marco Tulio might finish him here. I'm gonna pick second round TKO. Then we get Sumadarji against Mitch Raposo. This one's it's a bit tight. I know a lot of people would pick Mitch Raposo here, but I think Sumadarji, despite the fact that he's had a bad run in the UFC, like not the best run, right? Fucking like you lose to Matt Schnell. You have some problems, you know what I mean? You have some problems for sure, and I've picked Sumadarji. I always back this man for whatever reason, and I'm backing him again. I think the superior UFC experience will be too much for Mitch Raposo. I know Mitch is decent on the ground, but I think on the feet there is quite a wide gap between the two of them, and I think Sumadarji might put it on him and win by decision. I'm going to say that might be a weird prediction. I'm sure a lot of people aren't backing Sumadarji. I know he's a hard fighter to back, but there's something about the dude. I always back him, and I'm backing him again. Fuck it. Then we get Cedric Dumas versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Tough one, I would say. Cedric Dumas looked pretty decent in his last few fights. Not too bad indeed. And I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick him by decision. I don't think Oleksiejczuk is that good. Like, how are you getting submitted by Kevin Holland like that, you know? I get Kevin Holland's all wiry and he's decent on the ground, good off his back and all that, but like, come on now, you know, like you shouldn't be getting tapped out by fucking Kevin Holland in 2024, was it? Nah, it's just unacceptable. So yeah, I'm picking Cedric Dumas here, and I'm thinking decision, but it wouldn't even surprise me if he was to force Oleksiejczuk to tap, because I think like 3 of his last 4 losses are by submission. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I'm pretty sure that's the truth. So bad look for Oleksiejczuk. The man just being passed around like a hooker. So yeah, I'm gonna say Dumas beats him. Yeah, that's what I'm sticking to. Let me get Darren Elkins against Julian Erosa. These are 2 crafty veterans. These are crafty veterans. I think I picked Erosa during his last victory, or leading up to his last victory. I think I picked him and I got that one correct. But this one is tough for me. You know, both men, they do their best work on the ground. They like so much experience between these 2 guys. Right? I like watching them both fight, and I hate seeing fights between 2 veterans like this, because I hate seeing one of these 2 guys lose. I just don't like it. Both coming off of back-to-back wins, though. I would say Julian Erosa's victories are more impressive. 2 first-round submissions, I believe, against Ricardo Ramos and Christian Rodriguez, which is, I think, the one that I got correct for Julian Erosa. And a lot of people weren't expecting that result there. But it was very impressive considering what C-Rod has been doing recently against these undefeated prospects. I don't know, man. This is very tough, but I'm going to choose Julian Erosa by decision. I think he has a bit more on the feet. He's a little bit longer, a little bit wirier, and I think they could cancel one another out on the ground. And if this fight stays on the feet for a decent portion of it, I can see Julian Erosa piecing up Darren Elkins a little bit, busting up his face, and just messing with him because he has all that scarred tissue from the years of being cut open, and it really doesn't take a whole lot to make Darren Elkins bleed. But of course, I would love to see Darren Elkins win this fight because the dude is an absolute warrior. But I am going to pick Julian Erosa by decision. Then we get Jim Miller against Chase Hooper. Now, this is an unfortunate one because it appears like Jim Miller is being thrown to the younger prospect to build his name. And yeah, I think Chase Hooper, he's shown great improvements fight over fight, especially after that embarrassing loss. Whichever his last loss was, he came back his next fight looking so much different against, who is Borishev, I believe it was. I thought Borishev was going to clean out Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper drops him, makes him tap. All right, I'm just going to choose Chase Hooper. I think the younger man will get it done, although I would, of course, be very happy for Jim Miller to get the win, of course, against another young prospect. But it just seems set up for Chase Hooper to win this one. I think he might hurt Miller on the feet. And I don't want to see him make him tap, though. I don't want to see Jim Miller tap out. But maybe Chase Hooper gets it done with like a TKO or something. Oh, fuck, I don't like that fight, though. But then we get Yan Xiaonan versus Verna Jandiroba. The 2 real only strawweight contenders out there as things stand. And I think Verna Jandiroba, if she is to get this fight to the ground, it may be a short night for Yan Xiaonan, but if it stays on the feet, it could be an equally short night for Verna Jandiroba. This is very hard for me. I honestly don't know what to choose here, but at the end of the day, I back Yan Xiaonan's ability to keep it on the feet. And like I said, as long as it's on the feet, she's going to be pinging Verna Jandiroba's head around the octagon, and I think she will get this one done. I'm going to say decision for Yan Xiaonan. Then we get on to Dan Ige against Sean Woodson. Dude, this fight is so sick on paper. Just a boxing fan's dream, but in MMA form here. Both guys clean hands, but Sean Woodson just has that weird, long, yet still Mike Wazowski build. It doesn't make sense. He defies just all the laws of anything, really, right? he just defies laws. The man is built strangely. I don't get it. I don't get his build. Look at his legs. I don't know. He makes me uncomfortable just looking at him. But I have a feeling he's going to win this one here. Dan Ige struggles against taller opponents. Sean Woodson, his bread and butter, is fighting these shorter opponents. He's going to be digging those left hooks to the body. Of course, he has to watch out for a big overhand from Dan Ige, a counter left hook. Dan Ige has bombs. He does. But Sean Woodson is so crispy on the feet, man. And that build is just so hard to deal with for these featherweights. He doesn't even really cut a whole lot of weight as far as I know as well. So he's not like he's really, cutting himself down, sucking himself in a little bit and deteriorating his chin at all. Nope, he comes in there looking good every time, man. Defensively sound. Just a tough fighter to deal with on the feet. I don't think Dan Ige, maybe he can get it to the ground. If he does, maybe he can make Sean Woodson tap. But Sean Woodson knows how to use that crazy frame with those weirdly long legs to fight off takedowns. I think Dan Ige will have a hard time in that department, getting it to the ground. I think he'll be pieced up on the feet. Not exactly outmatched, but the stature is just too much, man. Sean Woodson, it's like fighting somebody fucking 2-3 weight classes ahead of you. Kind of reminds me of that dude, I forget his name, in ONE FC, Anan, I think his name is Anan. If you don't know who I'm talking about, he's like a 6'3", 135er. It makes no sense. And Sean Woodson reminds me a lot of him, and I think he's going to give Dan Ige problems. I don't think Dan Ige's chin will be cracked. The man has an iron chin at the end of the day, but I think Sean Woodson will piece him up and win a 30-27, 29-28 decision. Maybe Dan Ige has success in a round, but I think Sean Woodson takes this one. That's my prediction. Then we get Nikita Krylov, and we're on the main card now. Nikita Krylov against Dominic Reyes, and I know smart money is potentially on Nikita Krylov, but you guys know, I love Dominic Reyes. I love this man. I think he was so hard done by John Jones, and I've supported him ever since, man. I've been supporting his comeback ever since, and it just takes one with this man, but he's so basic on the feet that I could see someone like Nikita Krylov beating him up and maybe cracking him. But I don't want to see it happen. Therefore, I'm not picking it. I'm picking Dominic Reyes, and I'm picking him to chin Nikita Krylov. I'm picking him to land one of those nice, sharp left hands on the chin, putting him down. And I'm picking that to happen in the first round, as much as it probably won't, dude. It probably won't. But then we get into Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. Exciting one, I guess, right? For anyone who gives a shit about, like a 37-year-old ex-Bellator champion. And I think Pitbull's in for a real bad welcome here. A real bad welcome for Patricio Pitbull into the UFC. Like I said, he's past his prime. He's 37 at this point. I don't even see the point of him getting onto the roster. How many years does he have really to give to us? Not many. Presumably not many. And Yair, I think, just has way too much on the feet for Patricio. Patricio is decent on the ground. Decent. But the bulk of what he gets done is on the feet. And he's going up against Yair Rodriguez. This dude, like, there's no one like him on the Bellator roster. No one really like him. No one that Patricio Pitbull's ever fought who's anything like Yair Rodriguez. And I think he's going to get knocked out. I think Patricio Pitbull's going to get knocked out. I'm going to say second round KO. Yair's going to land something. That's all I know. He's going to land something. Yeah, he is built perfectly for Yair to piece up like that. I think he'll do him worse than he did Josh Emmett, and that's what I'm predicting here. Then we get this one super intriguing matchup. Now, I like the fight nerds. I like the way that they fight. I can appreciate their styles, the skills that they bring to the table. But I wasn't a big fan of Jean Silva's "fuck Bryce Mitchell, fuck Bryce Mitchell." Fucking annoying. His shit was annoying. It was autistic. It was stupid. I didn't like it. He forced it. Man tried to take over the press conference, and he didn't gain himself fans. In fact, he probably lost himself fans with those stupid antics. Bryce Mitchell, he stayed calm, stayed stoic, dropping sick one-liners like you're barking up the wrong tree, motherfucker. All this shit. Bryce Mitchell kept his composure, and there's just something in his eyes. There's something in his eyes going into this fight. He will not give up. He is going to be exercising his demons, and most importantly, he's going to be exercising the demon that is Jean Silva. This man is a heathen. He is a fucking heathen. Bryce Mitchell has the Lord in his heart. Meanwhile, Jean Silva has the Lord on his chest, on his solar plexus, more specifically. And Bryce Mitchell's going to get this one done. I think he may actually just go out there and expose Jean Silva. I think so. I think Jean will crack Bryce on the feet. But if you didn't watch Ilia Topuria versus Bryce Mitchell, then you may not know that Bryce Mitchell's a bit slick on the feet. He's a bit slick, and he has said since the Josh Emmett fight that he just jumped off the couch, didn't even train for that fight, and maybe you can attribute the knockout to that. I think that Josh Emmett just landed the perfect punch, okay? And maybe Bryce Mitchell is finished after that. Maybe he can never recover. But he seems to be taking this fight very personally, and there's something about a devout Christian that when they believe that they're fighting for a higher power, you can't hurt him. You cannot hurt this man. I think Bryce Mitchell is going to drown Jean Silva on the ground. I think he's going to take him into deep waters, and I think he might make him tap, dude. I'm going to predict that. I'm going to predict him to fucking make him tap. I think second round submission, third round submission. I don't know when it's going to happen. All I know is that it's going to happen, and then Bryce Mitchell will deliver a very memorable post-fight speech that will probably be cut off and go to commercial break during. That's all I'm saying, dude. But then we get to the co-main, Michael Chandler against Paddy Pimblett. Now, when this fight was made, I was confused why people were predicting Paddy Pimblett to win this fight. And I'm still confused why anyone is picking Paddy Pimblett to win this fight. Your hatred for Michael Chandler should not overshadow the fact that Paddy Pimblett is not at the level to even be a ranked lightweight. You just watch the man on the feet. This guy looks like he took like half a year of cardio kickboxing classes when he strikes. I'm simply not impressed by it. I'm not impressed. I think on the feet, Michael Chandler, yeah, he's wild, but at least the man packs a fucking punch. At least he packs a punch. And what's Paddy Pimblett going to do to this man on the ground? He got fucking thrown around by Jared Gordon, bro. Jared fucking Gordon. Jared Flash Gordon. A journeyman. He got thrown around by him. Couldn't do a thing to Jared Gordon on the ground. What is he going to do to Michael Chandler exactly? I'm confused, man. I'm just very confused. The only way I see Michael Chandler losing this fight is if he slips on a banana peel and just, implements his negative IQ, right? His stat points drop off a cliff in the second round. If he can somehow patch up that particular debuff that he has to go through during every single fight, then I think he wins this fight easily. And I think that he will be the first one to crack Paddy Pimblett's chin and knock him out. I'm gonna say it's gonna happen in the first round. I think these guys will exchange, and Chandler will catch him. Right? Paddy Pimblett, he shows no improvements fight over fight. He's like the anti-Diego Lopez. He goes in every fight looking the exact same every single time. Every single time. And he somehow keeps winning because Bobby Green decides to shoot a takedown for no reason, even though he's doing pretty well on the feet, and just jumps right into a triangle choke. Funny situation, right? All right, Michael Chandler is losing, yes, but he's losing against the best of the best. He lost 2 fights to fucking Charles Oliveira and almost won both of those fights. I understand that we don't like the guy because he's a cheater, but he's so much better than Paddy Pimblett, and he's going to win this fight, and you cannot convince me otherwise. But if you think Paddy Pimblett will win, I would love to read your arguments in the comment section below. So please let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the video, my predictions, everything. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.